The stars stretched endlessly beyond the thick armored glass of the Vigilant, a colossal warship cutting through the silent void. Unlike every other mission before, Earth had sent no diplomats this time, no peaceful envoys bearing words of goodwill or gestures of truce. Instead, they sent the Vigilant, a floating fortress armed with weapons so devastating that even the oldest alien civilizations hadn't faced anything like it. In the grand halls of the Galactic Alliance, representatives from countless species stared nervously at the screens showing Earth's warship approaching their space. Whispers filled the air. Earth was known as a planet of survivors, fighters forged by endless battles and harsh realities. But no one had expected such a blunt message. We are not here to talk. Commander Jack Riley stood tall on the bridge of the Vigilant, his eyes scanning the stars as the ship pushed forward. His jaw was tight, but his voice held steady when he spoke over the comms. We didn't come to start a war. We came to make sure the galaxy knows Earth will not be dismissed or pushed around. Strength is the only language they understand. The crew moved with silent precision, every hand ready for the mission ahead. Jack felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. This mission could either bring a new respect for humanity or spark a conflict that would scar the stars forever. As the Vigilant drew closer to alien space, the galactic fleet scrambled in defense, unsure if this was the start of annihilation or an unorthodox warning. One thing was clear. Earth had made its choice, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity's fierce will could be a shield or a sword. Jack Riley stood at the command chair, his eyes never leaving the viewport. The swirling nebulae outside seemed calm, but inside the Vigilant, tension crackled like static electricity. The alien fleet was growing larger on the tactical displays, sleek starships with designs so strange and elegant they almost looked like art, but deadly art. Every species here was a veteran of interstellar politics, masters of diplomacy and deception, yet none had ever seen Earth behave like this. For centuries, Earth had been the underdog, the planet isolated and underestimated by the galactic community. Humans had watched alien empires rise and fall, always outsiders in the grand cosmic theater. The galaxy often dismissed Earth as a backwater world, primitive, chaotic, too violent to trust. But over the last 100 years, Earth had transformed. Its technology advanced at a furious pace, its military unmatched, its people hardened by survival against impossible odds. And now, for the first time, Earth was declaring itself a power no one could ignore. Jack's communications officer, Lieutenant Aren, broke the silence. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council flagship." Jack nodded. "Put it on the main screen." A tall figure appeared, framed by a halo of blue light. The alien ambassador was from the Synari, a species known for their crystalline bodies and razor-sharp intellect. Their voice was cold but controlled, dripping with barely hidden accusation. "Commander Riley, Earth's decision to send a warship instead of diplomats is unprecedented. You bring weapons where words are needed. You threaten peace with intimidation. What is your purpose here?" Jack met the alien's gaze without flinching. "Our purpose is simple. For too long, Earth has been ignored, belittled, and pushed aside. We've come to make sure that stops. This isn't a threat. It's a promise. We want respect, and we're prepared to earn it by any means necessary." A murmur rippled through the Alliance fleets. The Synari ambassador's expression hardened. "Respect built on fear is fragile, Commander. Do you truly believe violence will win you allies, or have you chosen a path to war?" Jack's jaw clenched. "Allies? Maybe. But we don't need allies who only respect us because we beg for it. We need survival, and survival demands strength. If that scares the galaxy, so be it." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in heavy silence. Aren's fingers flew over the controls. We're tracking multiple warships closing in on our position. They're not engaging yet, but they're ready. Jack took a deep breath and turned to his officers. Hold your positions. No shots unless fired upon. We're here to show power, not to start a fight. But if anyone makes the mistake of attacking Earth, they'll regret it. The crew nodded, their faces tight with tension but loyal to their commander's resolve. Hours passed in a fragile standstill. The Vigilant loomed like a shadow of war between the stars, its massive guns silent but ever ready. Alien ships circled like wary predators, unsure if this was a bluff or the beginning of a devastating campaign. Jack walked the length of the bridge, thoughts racing. The weight of this mission wasn't just about Earth's place in the galaxy. It was about what humanity had become. The old ways of diplomacy had failed Earth repeatedly. Peaceful talks had left them vulnerable. Now they were sending a message that resonated in the marrow of every human on board. We will be heard, and we will not be crushed. Suddenly, the Vigilant's sensors picked up an unexpected signal, a small ship approaching at high speed, hailing Earth's warship with an emergency beacon. Jack frowned and ordered it to be brought aboard. Minutes later, the shuttle docked, and a lone alien stepped onto the Vigilant's deck. She was smaller than most aliens they'd seen, her features sharp but marked by exhaustion and desperation. "I'm Kira," she said quickly, her voice trembling but clear. "I'm from the planet Vaishar. I came to warn you, there's a faction in the Galactic Council planning to use your arrival as a pretext for war. They want to paint Earth as aggressors, to justify a purge of your world before you can prove your strength." Jack studied her carefully. "Why should I trust you?" Kira's eyes burned with urgency. "Because my people want peace, and because if a war starts, it won't just be Earth or Vaishar destroyed, it will be everyone." Jack considered her words. Trust was a rare currency in the galaxy, but this warning couldn't be ignored. "Tell me everything." Over the next hour, Kira laid out a dark picture. The Galactic Council was split between those who feared Earth's rising power and those who saw it as a threat to their dominance. Some had long wanted to keep Earth weak, hidden, and controlled. Now they planned to provoke a conflict, framing Earth as the aggressor to justify a total war that would crush humanity before it could rise. Jack's fists clenched. "They're playing a dangerous game." Kira nodded. "You came with weapons, not words. That makes it easier for them to spin a story where you're the villains. You have to act carefully." Jack paced the bridge, the crew watching him. His mind raced through options. Retreat was out of the question. Earth's people would never accept it. But a show of force without understanding the political games was a death sentence. He made a decision. "We're sending a message, clear but not violent. We'll broadcast to every world in the Alliance the truth of what's happening. We'll expose those who want war and show that Earth seeks respect, not conquest." The crew sprang into action, preparing the broadcast. Jack's voice echoed through the Vigilant as he addressed the galaxy. "People of the Galactic Alliance, hear this. Earth did not come to conquer. We came because we must be recognized as equals. We come with strength because we have no choice. But we seek peace. Those who plot war using lies will face the wrath of a planet that refuses to be erased." The message sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Some factions cheered Earth's boldness. Others saw it as a dangerous escalation. Back on the Vigilant, alarms suddenly blared. An unidentified fleet was warping into battle range. The hostile faction Kira warned about had made their move. Jack's voice cut through the chaos. "Battle stations! Show them what Earth is made of!" The warship's weapons powered up, glowing ominously as the enemy ships surged forward. The tension exploded into violence. Jack's heart pounded. This was the moment Earth had prepared for, the moment to prove that they were not just survivors, but warriors who would fight for their place in the galaxy. As the first shots fired and the stars flared with deadly light, Jack knew one thing for certain. The galaxy would never forget the day Earth sent a warship of terror, not as a weapon of destruction, but as a shield of humanity's will to survive. The Vigilant's engines hummed with a cold fury as the enemy fleet surged forward, their ships cutting through space like a pack of hungry wolves closing in on their prey. Jack Riley's hands tightened around the armrests of his command chair. This was no longer a demonstration. It was war. "Shields at full power. Target the lead cruiser and disable their weapon systems first," Jack ordered, his voice steady but sharp. "We don't want to destroy them outright. Show strength, not annihilation." The bridge crew moved with practiced precision. Tactical displays lit up with red targeting markers, missile launches, and energy beams piercing the darkness. The Vigilant's weapon systems roared to life, unleashing bursts of plasma that tore through enemy shields and crippled their offensive lines. Despite the overwhelming firepower, the enemy fleet was relentless. They came with numbers and tactics honed through centuries of conflict, pressing hard to overwhelm Earth's unexpected juggernaut. Jack's mind raced. This was more than a fight for survival. It was a test of humanity's place in the galaxy, a brutal proving ground for Earth's right to be taken seriously. "Enemy flagship is maneuvering for a flanking attack," Lieutenant Arin reported, her fingers flying over the controls. "They're trying to get behind us." "Divert power to aft shields and prepare countermeasures," Jack commanded. "I want every system ready for their best shot." As the battle intensified, the tension aboard the Vigilant became suffocating. Every explosion outside sent vibrations through the ship's massive frame. The hum of weaponry was a constant roar in Jack's ears, but he blocked it out to focus on the bigger picture. Suddenly, a sharp alert flashed on the main screen, a message intercepted from the Galactic Council. "Cease hostilities immediately. This conflict endangers the entire alliance. Negotiations will resume. Commander Riley, you are ordered to withdraw." Jack stared at the message, disbelief twisting his gut. The Council's so-called peacekeepers were ordering Earth's warship to retreat, after sending those same fleets to attack first. He slammed his fist on the console. "Tell them Earth doesn't back down under threats or orders. We came for respect, and we'll fight for it." Arin hesitated, then relayed the refusal. The Council's response was cold and final. No compromise. The battle raged on, and Jack realized this wasn't just a fight in space. It was a war of ideals, power, and survival. Earth was caught in the middle of galactic politics far older and more dangerous than any human had imagined. Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently. An enemy torpedo had struck the forward hull. Warning alarms blared, and emergency lights bathed the bridge in red. "Damage report!" Jack barked. "Forward shields are holding but weakening," the engineer responded. "Hull integrity at 87%. We need to divert more power to sustain them." Jack nodded. "Do it. Prioritize defense, but keep the weapons firing." The battle took on a brutal rhythm. Shoot, evade, repair, repeat. Jack's mind flicked back to the message he had sent earlier, the call for peace through strength. Was it too late for peace, or had Earth sealed its fate as a rogue planet in the eyes of the galaxy? Minutes stretched into hours. The enemy fleet's attacks became more desperate, their resolve shaken by the Vigilant's resilience. But then a new threat appeared on the sensors, a massive fleet from a neutral faction, their ships sleek and unfamiliar. Jack's eyes narrowed. "They're moving to intercept the enemy. This might change the battle." The new fleet's commander hailed the Vigilant with a voice both commanding and curious. "Commander Riley, we have watched Earth's actions with concern. Your arrival disrupted the fragile balance of power. But we cannot allow this war to consume us all. We are here to enforce a ceasefire." Jack studied the transmission carefully. This faction wielded significant influence and firepower. Aligning with them could tip the scales, but at what cost? "Tell them we accept a ceasefire," Jack said after a moment. "But on one condition. The Galactic Council must address Earth's grievances and acknowledge our sovereignty." The new fleet's commander paused before responding. "We will relay your conditions. For now, lower your weapons and prepare to negotiate." Jack exhaled slowly and gave the order. The Vigilance weapons powered down, the bridge filled with an uneasy silence. The warship that had been a symbol of terror now became a vessel of fragile hope. In the days that followed, Earth's representatives, Jack among them, entered tense negotiations with the Galactic Alliance. The Council was divided, many unwilling to grant Earth full recognition. But Jack stood firm, his voice a beacon for his people. "We didn't come here to conquer," he said in one session. "We came because Earth was forced to fight for its place. You may fear our strength, but it is born from necessity. Respect us as equals, or face a galaxy where trust is replaced by fear, and that benefits no one." The talks dragged on, fraught with mistrust and political games. Meanwhile, back on the Vigilant, repairs and upgrades continued, preparing for whatever future battles might come. Jack often found himself alone on the bridge late at night, staring out into the stars. He thought about Earth, the struggles, the fights, the people who had made him what he was. This mission was more than a military operation. It was a fight for humanity's dignity. But even as hope flickered, he knew the galaxy would never be the same. Earth's arrival had shattered illusions of peace and diplomacy. The warship of terror had become a symbol of change. Whether that change would bring unity or destruction was yet to be seen. One evening, as the Vigilant orbited a neutral station for talks, Jack received an encrypted message. It was from Kira, the Vishari envoy, who had warned him before the battle. "Commander, there are forces within the Council plotting to escalate this conflict. You must be vigilant. Trust no one completely." Jack's eyes narrowed. The shadows within the Alliance were deeper and more dangerous than he'd imagined. The mission was far from over. The warship of terror was still Earth's shield, and its sword. The Vigilant floated like a steel titan above the neutral space station, its massive hull reflecting the dim glow of distant stars. The truce held, but it was brittle, one misstep away from shattering into chaos. Commander Jack Riley leaned against the cold metal railing of the observation deck, eyes scanning the endless void. The stars outside looked peaceful, but the truth was far from it. The political negotiations dragging on below were just a thin veil covering a much darker game. Jack had learned quickly that in the Galactic Council, words were weapons as lethal as plasma cannons, and betrayal could come cloaked in smiles. Kira's warning haunted him. There were factions within the Alliance that thrived on fear and war. Those factions didn't want peace. They wanted Earth crushed or controlled. If Earth failed to stand firm, those shadows would swallow them whole. Back on the bridge, the crew was tense, but determined. Lieutenant Erin sat at her console, fingers poised over the communications panel, her face tight with worry. "Commander, the Council security detail just intercepted a suspicious message. It's encrypted, but it's coming from one of the lead negotiators. The code suggests sabotage." Jack's eyes flicked to the screen. "Sabotage? What are they planning?" Erin shook her head. "Too early to tell, but it's clear someone inside the Council is playing a dangerous game, one that could drag us back into war." Jack clenched his fists. The fragile ceasefire was already cracking. "We need allies," Jack said quietly, turning toward his second-in-command, Captain Morales. "People we can trust. Reach out to Kira and her people. If they want peace, they need to stand with us." Captain Morales nodded. "I'll set up a secure channel immediately." Jack's mind raced. Earth's survival wasn't just about weapons or strength. It was about navigating this maze of politics and deception without losing what made humanity strong, their stubborn will to endure and fight for what was right. The Vishari envoy, Kira, appeared on the ship's holobridge a few hours later. Her face was still marked by exhaustion, but her eyes burned with fierce determination. "Commander, you must understand the full extent of the danger," she said urgently. "The faction plotting against you is led by a powerful coalition. They want to frame Earth as the aggressor and use that as a pretext to launch a full-scale attack." Jack stared at her. "What's their endgame? Why are they so determined to see Earth destroyed?" Kira's voice dropped to a whisper. "Control. The Galactic Council is built on fragile alliances and power plays. Earth's rise threatens the balance. Some would rather see you fall than risk a new order." Jack shook his head, anger rising. "They underestimate humanity. We don't back down. But we have to be smarter than them." Kira nodded. "Exactly. You must expose them before they move. But they have spies everywhere. Trust no one completely." Over the next few days, Jack and his team worked tirelessly to uncover the conspiracy. They sifted through intercepted communications, piecing together evidence of sabotage, bribery, and assassination plots aimed at Earth's leaders. The tension on the Vigilant was palpable. Every crew member knew the stakes. Every step forward could trigger disaster. One evening, as Jack reviewed the latest intelligence, an urgent alert flashed across his console. "Commander," Aaron's voice was tight. "We've detected an unauthorized boarding attempt on the Vigilant. Sensors picked up cloaked vessels moving in at high speed." Jack's heart raced. "How many?" "3 ships, small but heavily armed. They're trying to get inside." "Prepare for repulsion. Lock down all airlocks. Arm the boarding defenses." The crew sprang into action, sealing bulkheads and readying countermeasures. The Vigilant was a warship built for such assaults, but the idea that enemies were already inside the Council's sphere, striking at them directly, underscored the danger. Moments later, alarms blared as the enemy boarding parties attempted to breach the outer hull. Jack moved swiftly to coordinate defenses, directing security teams to repel the invaders. The fight was brutal. In the narrow corridors and docking bays, security forces clashed with silent, deadly attackers. Energy blades hummed and pulse rifles fired in bursts. The ship shook with the force of explosions and impacts. Jack himself took command of a security squad, leading the charge to push back the boarders. His voice cut through the chaos, sharp and commanding. "Hold the line! Protect the bridge at all costs!" The boarding parties were fierce but unprepared for the Vigilant's crew's tenacity. After intense fighting, the attackers were repelled, but not without casualties. In the aftermath, as medics tended to the wounded, Jack gathered his senior officers. "This was no random attack," he said grimly. "Someone on the council sent them. They want us weak, broken, and isolated." Captain Morales looked grave. "We need to expose who's behind this. If we don't, the next strike could be on Earth itself." Jack nodded. "Agreed. But we can't act alone. We need to bring more allies to our side. And fast." He turned to Aaron. "What's our status with the Vishari?" Aaron tapped her console. "They're ready to stand with us publicly, but their political power is limited. The Council's corrupt factions have influence in every corner." Jack sighed. "Then we use what we have: truth, strength, and resolve." The next council session was tense beyond measure. The chamber was filled with representatives from dozens of worlds, their faces a mix of suspicion, fear, and curiosity. Jack and Kira presented their evidence: the intercepted messages, the proof of sabotage, and the clear attempts to provoke war. Voices rose in outrage and disbelief. Some council members tried to dismiss the claims, accusing Earth of fabricating evidence. Others looked uneasy, caught between old loyalties, and the undeniable truth. Jack stepped forward, his voice ringing clear and firm. We are not here to start wars. We are here to stop one. Those who use lies and violence to manipulate the galaxy threaten all of us. Earth will no longer be the scapegoat for others' ambitions. We demand accountability. We demand peace built on justice. The chamber fell silent. Then, slowly, some voices rose in support. The tide was shifting, but the battle for the Council's heart was far from over. Back on the Vigilant, Jack stood on the observation deck, watching the stars again. The galaxy was a dangerous place, filled with shadows and lies, but also hope. He thought about the people of Earth, hardworking, fierce, proud, and the mission ahead. They hadn't come with diplomats because the old ways had failed. They came with a warship because sometimes survival demanded showing the world they couldn't be ignored. The fight was just beginning. The diplomatic chamber hummed with uneasy whispers as the debate stretched late into the cycle. Jack Riley stood firm at the center of the storm, his presence a challenge to those who doubted Earth's resolve. Around him, alien delegates exchanged thinly veiled insults and veered between grudging respect and open hostility. Every moment felt like walking on the edge of a blade. Kira stood at Jack's side, her crystalline features tense but resolute. They are testing you, Commander. Every word, every gesture is a trap. Jack nodded, muscles coiled. I'm ready. This isn't just about Earth. It's about every world that's been crushed beneath the weight of political games. Suddenly, the chamber's vast communication panel flickered, and a new message streamed in. Encrypted. Urgent. The Council's security chief addressed the assembly. Recent intelligence confirms a covert operation targeting multiple worlds allied with Earth. The conspirators are moving quickly. We must act before this escalates beyond control. Murmurs surged like waves. Some delegates looked terrified, others pale with anger. Jack's eyes narrowed. This was no longer just a political battle. It was war hiding in shadows. As the meeting broke, Jack was summoned to a private chamber. Waiting was Ambassador Velcor, a stoic figure from the dominant Hithari species, known for their ruthless politics. Commander Riley, Velcor said without preamble, your arrival disrupted our delicate balance. But this covert operation you mention, it is the work of extremists in every faction. The galaxy is fracturing. We need a strong hand to hold it together. Jack met Velcor's gaze. Then let Earth be that hand. But not by playing your games. We fight for fairness, not control. Velcor studied him, eyes glittering. Idealism is a luxury in these times. Will you sacrifice your principles for peace? Jack's jaw tightened. I'll sacrifice nothing that makes us human. Velcor's lips curved in a thin smile. Then prepare yourself. The next moves will decide if your warship is a beacon or a curse. Back aboard the Vigilant, tension twisted the air. The crew was on edge, knowing their mission had grown more dangerous with every passing hour. Jack met with his officers in the strategy room, the holographic map of the galaxy floating between them. Our enemies are well hidden, but we've identified several key nodes controlling their networks, Jack said, tracing a route on the map. Disrupt those, and we cripple their ability to coordinate attacks. Captain Morales leaned forward. We'll need stealth teams for that. Precision strikes, not full-scale battles. Jack nodded. Agreed. We can't afford open war. Not yet. This is a shadow war. We fight in the dark. The team began planning operations that would take them deep behind enemy lines. Dangerous missions with little room for error. Meanwhile, on the neutral station, Jack received a troubling report from Kira. Commander, we've uncovered a plan to assassinate key Earth representatives during the next council session. The conspirators want to decapitate your leadership before peace talks can progress. Jack's face hardened. We can't let that happen. Increase security detail and double all protocols. Kira added, Trust is scarce. Some of those closest to you may be compromised. Jack stared out the viewport. Then we'll have to watch every shadow, especially those that smile the widest. The next council session was tense beyond measure. As Jack prepared to address the assembly, security forces patrolled the chamber, their weapons discreet but ready. Jack stepped forward, his voice steady and commanding. Honored delegates, the future of our galaxy stands at a crossroads. We face threats not just from without, but from within. Those who seek to destroy peace for their gain will find Earth unyielding. We stand not as conquerors, but as protectors of justice, of freedom, and of hope. His words drew mixed reactions. Some cheered, others murmured discontent. Suddenly, alarms rang out. Security personnel moved swiftly, detaining suspicious figures before they could reach the dais. Assassins, caught before they could strike. The chamber erupted into chaos, but Jack's calm voice restored order. This attack proves our warnings were true. The enemies of peace are here. We must unite or fall divided. In the days following, Earth's position in the Council strengthened, but the price was high. Jack's warship remained a symbol of fear and strength. Necessary, but isolating. At night, Jack found little rest. The burden of leadership weighed heavily, the line between warrior and diplomat blurring. He thought of Earth's people, resilient, fierce, and waiting for him to bring back hope. The galaxy was a storm of shadows and light, and Earth's warship was at its eye. The calm after the Council attack was anything but peace. The echoes of the assassination attempt still lingered in the halls of the neutral station, a stark reminder that beneath the veneer of diplomacy, deadly games were being played. Commander Jack Riley knew this battle was far from over. It had only just begun. The Vigilant remained docked, but its crew worked tirelessly, reinforcing security protocols, repairing damage from earlier skirmishes, and preparing for whatever might come next. Jack, meanwhile, found himself caught between the roles of soldier and diplomat, a tightrope walk with no safety net. In the command center, Jack studied reports streaming in from intelligence operatives planted deep within the Galactic Council. Their findings painted a grim picture. The conspirators were far more widespread than anticipated. They had allies in every corner, politicians, military leaders, even some Earth sympathizers who had been corrupted or coerced. Lieutenant Arin broke the heavy silence. Commander, we have a new lead. An informant from the Vishari has confirmed that the extremists are planning a large-scale strike targeting Earth's communications arrays and supply lines. They want to cripple your ability to coordinate before the next council meeting. Jack's eyes darkened. How soon? Within the next cycle. He nodded sharply. Then we act preemptively. Captain Morales, assemble teams for covert operations. We hit their infrastructure before they hit ours. Captain Morales gave a curt salute. Understood, Commander. We'll prepare the teams immediately. Jack knew these missions were dangerous. The targets were deep inside hostile territory, heavily defended and monitored. But hesitation meant vulnerability, and vulnerability meant death for Earth's chances of survival. That night, Jack retreated to the ship's observation deck. The stars twinkled cold and distant, indifferent to the political turmoil below. He let out a slow breath, trying to steady his mind. Kira joined him silently, her presence a quiet comfort amid the storm. They grow bolder, she said softly. The extremists will not stop until they either control the council or destroy you. Jack turned to her. What can we do to stop them? Expose them, she replied. But be careful. Their reach is long and their patience short. One wrong move, and they will use it to brand Earth as a threat, not a victim. Jack's jaw tightened. We need to outsmart them, not just outfight. Kira nodded. Exactly. That's why you must trust a few, but question everything. Meanwhile, the covert teams began their missions. Jack watched the tactical feeds closely as stealth squads infiltrated enemy installations, sabotaged communications, and disrupted supply chains. The strikes were swift and precise, designed to cripple without igniting full-scale war. Yet every success came with a cost. Some teams barely escaped ambushes. Others reported unexpected resistance that suggested the extremists had spies inside their ranks. On the Vigilant, tension simmered as rumors spread of traitors lurking within Earth's own diplomatic corps. Jack knew the truth. Enemies were not always external. One evening, as Jack prepared for a briefing, Captain Morales approached with a grim expression. Commander, we've identified a suspect, someone close to the Earth delegation. They've been feeding information to the extremists. Jack's eyes narrowed. Who? Morales hesitated. Lieutenant Harlan. He was assigned to security detail, but had unexplained contacts with known conspirators. Jack's heart sank. Bring him in. The interrogation was brutal, but necessary. Under pressure, Lieutenant Harlan cracked, revealing a web of betrayal far deeper than expected. He confessed to passing secrets, sabotaging communications, and even orchestrating minor attacks on the Vigilant itself. Jack felt a cold fury. Why betray your own people? Harlan sneered. Earth is doomed. The galaxy won't accept you. Better to serve those who will survive. Jack's voice was ice. You chose the wrong side. You'll answer for your treason. The news sent shockwaves through the Vigilant. Trust was shattered, but Jack used it as a grim reminder. Survival meant vigilance, even against one's own. As the next council meeting approached, Jack prepared his final speech. It had to be more than words. It had to be a declaration that Earth would endure, no matter the cost. The chamber filled again with delegates, the tension thicker than ever. Security was tighter, but Jack knew danger lurked in every shadow. When he stepped forward, his voice carried the weight of a planet fighting for its life. We face enemies who would see us destroyed, not because we threaten them, but because we refuse to be ignored. Earth stands here not as a conqueror, but as a survivor. We demand a place in this galaxy founded on truth, justice, and the right to exist. The assembly was silent, many moved by his passion, others hardened in opposition. Suddenly, a violent explosion rocked the chamber. Emergency systems activated as chaos erupted once more. Jack acted instantly, coordinating evacuation and securing key personnel. The extremists had struck again, trying to silence Earth's voice. In the aftermath, the Council finally agreed to form a special investigative task force, one with representatives from neutral worlds, to root out the conspirators and bring peace. Jack returned to the Vigilant, exhausted but resolute. He stood once more on the observation deck, gazing at the stars that held both hope and peril. The warship of terror had proven itself, not just a weapon, but a symbol of humanity's refusal to be erased. The fight for Earth's future was far from over. The corridors of the Vigilant buzzed with cautious energy. Despite the tentative ceasefire and the new task force's formation, no one aboard believed peace was truly within reach. Commander Jack Riley moved through the ship's nerve center like a man carrying the weight of his entire world on his shoulders. Every conversation, every report, felt like a countdown to the next crisis. The intelligence reports painted a grim picture. The extremists, though weakened by recent strikes and arrests, had gone deeper underground, embedding themselves in civilian governments, military commands, even the neutral worlds that claimed impartiality. Their goal was clear: to destabilize the Council, fracture the fragile alliance, and reignite all-out war, one that could wipe out Earth before it had a chance to stand as an equal. Jack knew the stakes. Failure wasn't just defeat, it was extinction. In the strategy room, the holographic galaxy map flickered as Jack and his officers reviewed the latest intel. "Commander, the extremists have coordinated attacks on multiple supply convoys heading to Earth's allies," Captain Morales reported grimly. "They're trying to isolate Earth politically and militarily." Jack nodded. "Cut off the head, and the body will fall. We need to hit their command centers and communication hubs simultaneously before they can regroup." Lieutenant Aaron tapped her console. "We've pinpointed 3 key locations, 2 on contested planets and 1 in an asteroid belt used as a relay station." "Prepare strike teams," Jack ordered. "We go in fast and hard, no mistakes." As preparations began, Jack retreated briefly to his quarters. He sat by the window, staring out into the infinite black. The stars looked peaceful, indifferent to the turmoil. He thought of Earth, his home planet, scarred by wars and struggles, yet unbroken. Kira's words echoed in his mind. Trust few, question everything. But as isolation and suspicion grew, Jack felt the crushing loneliness of command. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. It was Kira herself, appearing in the doorway. "Jack, you carry more than just the fate of Earth," she said quietly. "You carry the hopes of many who believe in peace." He looked at her, tired but resolute. "I don't have the luxury of doubt. We either win this fight, or Earth dies." She stepped closer. "Then let me help you. The Vishari have resources and allies willing to stand with you." Jack nodded slowly. "I need all the help I can get." The strike teams launched under the cover of darkness. Stealth ships slipped through enemy defenses, delivering specialized squads trained for rapid surgical strikes. Jack monitored their progress anxiously. Each target was heavily guarded, and the extremists were desperate, using every dirty trick to slow Earth's forces. In the asteroid relay station, Aaron led a squad disabling communications arrays. Explosions echoed in the void as charges detonated, severing the extremists' ability to coordinate. On the contested planets, teams infiltrated underground bunkers and command centers. The fighting was brutal and close quarters. Shadows moved with deadly intent, and the air crackled with tension. Jack watched the tactical feeds, sweat beading on his forehead, as squads encountered resistance beyond expectations. One team was pinned down, and backup was delayed by enemy reinforcements. "Send reinforcements now," Jack ordered, his voice sharp. The fight stretched into hours, every second counting. Finally, after grueling battles, the strike teams secured their objectives. The extremists' network lay in ruins, fragmented and disorganized. Back aboard the Vigilant, a wave of cautious relief swept the crew. But Jack knew the victory was only tactical, not strategic. During the debrief, Kira delivered disturbing news. "Commander, while your forces attacked their infrastructure, the extremists launched retaliatory strikes on several neutral worlds. They're trying to force the Council's hand, to push for all-out war before you can consolidate your gains." Jack's eyes darkened. "They're desperate and dangerous." Morales added, "We need to prepare Earth's defenses. If the Council fails, the extremists will make the galaxy bleed." Jack's voice was steady but cold. "Then we'll bleed with them if it means protecting our home." Days later, as the Council convened again, tensions exploded. Jack stood before the assembly, the Vigilant's imposing shadow cast across the chamber's massive windows. "Delegates," he began, "the extremists have shown their true colors. They would rather see worlds destroyed than compromise peace. Earth stands ready to defend itself and all who seek justice. But we cannot do this alone. The galaxy must unite before it is too late." Some delegates nodded. Others looked away, unwilling to confront the truth. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the council hall. Panic erupted. Security forces sprang into action, pushing back armed extremists trying to seize control. Jack moved swiftly, coordinating defenses and ensuring the evacuation of key personnel. The fight spilled into the halls, gunfire echoing as the council descended into chaos. In the chaos, Jack spotted Velcor, the Hethari ambassador, fighting alongside Earth's guards. Their eyes met, and Jack saw something unexpected: respect. After the battle, the Council's resolve hardened. A new coalition formed, uniting Earth and several neutral worlds against the extremist threat. Jack felt the weight of responsibility shift. No longer just a warrior, he was now a symbol, a leader forging uneasy alliances in the galaxy's darkest hour. Back on the Vigilant, as repairs and preparations continued, Jack found a moment of quiet on the observation deck. Kira joined him, the stars glittering behind her crystalline form. "We have a chance," she said softly. Jack looked out, the fire of determination burning in his eyes. For Earth, for peace, we fight on. The coalition was born in fire and blood, forged by the desperate need to survive against a common enemy that threatened to rip the galaxy apart. Earth's warship, the Vigilant, became the rallying point for worlds that had once been strangers, now united by fear, hope, and the will to fight. Commander Jack Riley stood on the bridge of the Vigilant, watching the stars blur as the ship jumped through hyperspace toward the heart of extremist territory. His face was set in grim determination, every line etched with the burdens of command. "Captain Morales," Jack said, turning to his second-in-command, "our mission is clear. We strike hard and fast to dismantle the extremists' remaining power before they can regroup or spread chaos to more worlds." Morales nodded, eyes sharp. "Our allies are ready. Vishari fighters and mercenaries from neutral systems have joined our ranks, but expect fierce resistance." Jack's jaw clenched. "Resistance or not, we will not fail." As the Vigilant emerged from hyperspace near a contested system, the Coalition fleet assembled, ships of all sizes and shapes, their colors and insignias a tapestry of diversity bound by a single cause. Jack addressed the assembled commanders via holo-communication. "This fight is bigger than any one planet or people," he said. "It's a fight for the future of every world that dares to dream of peace. We must be united, disciplined, and relentless. Let's show the extremists that the galaxy will not fall to fear." The fleet's commanders responded with grim determination. The battle began under the cold light of a distant sun. Extremist forces swarmed from hidden bases, their ships fast and ruthless. But the coalition was prepared, tactics honed through months of planning and hard-fought skirmishes. The Vigilant led the charge, its massive guns unleashing torrents of plasma that tore through enemy lines. Jack coordinated attacks with precision, his voice calm, yet commanding amid the chaos. In the heat of battle, Jack's mind was razor-sharp, calculating trajectories, anticipating enemy maneuvers, and protecting Allied ships caught in the crossfire. But the extremists fought with desperation, launching suicide runs and deploying cloaked fighters that tested the Coalition's defenses. During a critical moment, the Vigilant's shields flickered under a massive barrage. Explosions rocked the ship, and power fluctuations threatened to cripple its weapons systems. "Damage report," Jack barked. Engineer Silva's voice crackled over the comms. "Forward shield generators at 50%. Reactor fluctuations stabilizing but not stable. We're rerouting power from non-essential systems." Jack gritted his teeth. "Keep it together. We can't lose the Vigilant now." Amid the chaos, a new message broke through the static. It was Kira, her voice urgent. "Commander, Intel reports a hidden extremist command station on the planet below. It's the nerve center coordinating these attacks. If we destroy it, we cripple their ability to continue fighting." Jack's eyes narrowed. Prepare a strike team. I want that station gone. The mission was risky. Planetary assaults were always brutal, especially against entrenched enemies. But Jack knew it was necessary. The strike team descended in stealth ships, slipping through planetary defenses under the cover of night. Jack coordinated remotely, guiding them through treacherous terrain and deadly patrols. Fighting through enemy bunkers, the team reached the command station. Explosions rocked the facility as charges detonated, sending shockwaves through the enemy network. But as the team extracted, enemy reinforcements closed in fast. A fierce firefight erupted, and casualties mounted. Jack's heart pounded. Hold position. Evacuation is en route. The team's survival was uncertain, but their sacrifice crippled the extremists' command structure, buying the coalition precious time. Back on the Vigilant, Jack faced a grim reality. The war was far from over, but the tide was shifting. As the coalition prepared for further campaigns, Jack found brief moments to reflect on Earth, on humanity, and on the price of survival. Kira approached him on the observation deck, her presence calm amid the storm. "We fight for peace," she said softly, "but we must be ready for whatever comes next." Jack looked to the stars, determination burning in his eyes. For Earth, for all of us, we fight on. The victory over the extremist command station was a turning point, but the war was far from over. The coalition had dealt a heavy blow, yet the enemy remained dangerous, scattered, vengeful, and capable of striking at any moment. Commander Jack Riley understood this better than anyone. Every day was a battle not just in space, but in hearts and minds, where trust was fragile and betrayal could strike from within. As the Vigilant cruised through the starry void toward its next mission, Jack stood on the observation deck, watching the endless black with a sharp mind racing through strategies and contingencies. The cold silence of space was deceptive. It hid threats waiting to explode. "Commander, you have a visitor," Lieutenant Arin announced, breaking the stillness. Jack turned to see Kira step onto the deck, her crystalline form shimmering softly under the ship's lights. Despite the endless battles and political strife, her presence remained a steady anchor for him. "We received a distress call from one of our allied worlds," Kira said quietly. "The extremists have launched a surprise assault. They're trying to fracture the coalition before it can fully unite." Jack's eyes darkened. "Where?" "System Epsilon 9, a small cluster of habitable planets. The extremists struck fast, hitting military installations and civilian targets alike." Jack clenched his fists. "Prepare a response fleet. We can't let them tear apart what we've built." Within hours, the Vigilant led a coalition task force hurtling through space toward Epsilon 9. The fleet was a mix of battle-hardened veterans and fresh recruits, ships of different designs and sizes, united under a common banner. Jack addressed his commanders over the comms. "This is more than a rescue mission. It's a test of our strength and resolve. The extremists want to break us, to turn allies into enemies through fear and destruction. We will not let that happen. We fight for every world that believes in peace." The commanders responded with determination, their voices resolute against the backdrop of war. The battle for Epsilon 9 erupted under a blood-red sun, the coalition fleet engaging the extremists in brutal space combat. Explosions lit the darkness as ships danced through deadly volleys of plasma and missiles. On the Vigilant, Jack's eyes were fixed on the tactical displays. The extremists fought with a fierce desperation, deploying guerrilla tactics and surprise attacks designed to sow chaos. "Shields holding at 70%, Engineer Silva reported, voice tense. "Weapons systems operational, but we're taking heavy fire on the port side." Jack nodded. "Divert power to port shields and concentrate fire on the enemy's flagship." The Vigilant unleashed a devastating barrage. targeting the enemy flagship with precision. The massive cruiser shuddered under the assault, its shields flickering before finally collapsing. "Flagship down," Lieutenant Arin confirmed. But victory was far from assured. The extremists scattered, launching hit-and-run strikes on nearby civilian worlds. On the ground, coalition forces worked feverishly to defend key installations and evacuate civilians. Jack coordinated with ground commanders, balancing offensive strikes with humanitarian efforts. The extremists, however, were ruthless. They targeted power plants, communication arrays, and civilian shelters, trying to cripple the coalition's ability to respond. Jack's mind raced. This war wasn't just about firepower. It was about protecting lives, maintaining hope. In the midst of the chaos, Jack received an encrypted transmission from an unknown source. "Commander Riley, if you want peace, listen carefully. There are forces within your own ranks working to sabotage the coalition. Trust no one completely." The message sent a chill down Jack's spine. "Who sent this?" he demanded. The source remained unidentified, but the warning was clear. Betrayal lurked close. Back on the Vigilant, Jack convened a meeting with his senior officers. "We're fighting not just the extremists, but shadows within our own coalition," he said grimly. "We need to root out traitors before they destroy everything we've fought for." Lieutenant Arin nodded. "I'll increase security protocols and start a discreet investigation." Captain Morales added, "We can't let fear tear us apart. Trust is our greatest weapon and our greatest vulnerability." Jack agreed. "Then we hold fast. No one will break our spirit." As the battle for Epsilon 9 continued, the coalition began to turn the tide. With coordinated strikes and renewed determination, the extremists' grip weakened. Jack found brief moments to reflect on the cost, the lives lost, the worlds scarred, the fragile alliances tested by fear and doubt. But through it all, humanity's fierce will burned bright. One quiet evening, as the Vigilant orbited a repaired coalition outpost, Jack stood beside Kira on the observation deck. "The galaxy is still a dangerous place," she said softly. Jack looked to the stars. "But we're stronger than ever. For Earth, for the coalition, for the future. We fight on." Her eyes met his, filled with quiet hope. The war against the extremists had pushed the galaxy to its breaking point. Worlds once indifferent to Earth's rise were now firmly allied, but the cost was mounting. The Vigilant cut through hyperspace like a sword through darkness, carrying Jack Riley and his coalition fleet toward the next volatile system, the last known stronghold of the extremists. Inside the command center, the atmosphere was tense. Jack stood over the holographic map, pinpointing the location of the enemy's fortress world, a planet scarred by centuries of conflict, its surface riddled with fortified complexes and sprawling industrial zones dedicated to war production. "Intel suggests their main command bunker is beneath the city of Dravos," Jack said, tapping the map. "This is where they coordinate attacks and manufacture weapons. Destroying it will cripple their operations." Captain Morales, his second-in-command, frowned. "It won't be easy. Dravos is heavily defended. Orbital turrets, anti-air batteries, and ground forces trained in urban warfare. The extremists know we're coming." Jack's gaze was steely. "Then we hit them fast and hard. No mercy." The fleet emerged from hyperspace above Dravos, a menacing hulk of cities and war factories sprawling beneath them. The extremists wasted no time, launching waves of fighter squadrons and missile barrages aimed at the coalition ships. The Vigilant's shields flared as enemy fire slammed into the hull. Alarms blared, and the ship shuddered under the assault. "Damage report," Jack demanded. Engineer Silva's voice was steady despite the chaos. "Shields are down to 60% on the starboard side. We're diverting power to reinforce critical systems. Jack nodded, fighting the urge to pace. Return fire. Target the launch bays. We have to stop their reinforcements. The Vigilant's massive cannons unleashed torrents of plasma, ripping through hangars and scattering enemy fighters. The battle in orbit was fierce and chaotic, a deadly dance of light and destruction. Meanwhile, on the surface, Coalition drop pods streaked through the atmosphere, carrying assault teams into the heart of Dravos. Jack watched the tactical feeds intently as soldiers engaged entrenched extremists in brutal street fighting. The city was a maze of rubble and smoke, with every corner a potential death trap. Coalition forces moved with precision, but paid a heavy price. One team reported encountering a heavily fortified bunker beneath the city center, the extremists' command hub. Jack issued orders without hesitation. Send reinforcements and prepare demolition charges. We take that bunker down. Hours into the battle, Jack received disturbing news from Lieutenant Aaron. Commander, our communications have been disrupted. It appears the extremists have deployed an advanced EMP device targeting the Vigilant and our fleet. The room tensed. Without communications, coordinating the fleet and ground forces would be nearly impossible. Engineer Silva, can we shield our systems from the EMP? We're working on it, but the technology is beyond our current capabilities. We may have a window of vulnerability. Jack's mind raced. Then we act fast. We can't afford to lose control now. As the EMP pulse hit, systems flickered and alarms screamed. The Vigilant shook violently, but its core systems held. Jack gritted his teeth. Manual control engaged. Captain Morales, prepare to take the fleet through evasive maneuvers. Morales nodded sharply. Understood, Commander. Despite the chaos, Coalition forces on the ground pressed forward. Jack coordinated the assault through backup channels, guiding strike teams deeper into the city's underbelly. Finally, the demolition teams breached the command bunker. Explosions rocked the facility, sending shockwaves through the extremists' network. But victory came at a cost. Enemy counterattacks intensified, and casualties mounted. Jack refused to yield. Hold the line. We finish this fight here. As the battle drew to a close, the extremist forces fractured, their leaders captured or killed. The command bunker lay in ruins, a symbol of the Coalition's resolve. Jack stood on the observation deck of the Vigilant, gazing down at the battered planet below. We've won a battle, he said quietly to Kira, but the war isn't over. She nodded. There are still shadows out there, waiting. Jack's eyes hardened. Then we'll find them, and we'll fight until the galaxy knows Earth will never back down. Back on the Vigilant, news arrived that one of Earth's major cities had suffered a terrorist attack. An extremist sleeper cell had struck, reminding everyone that the enemy could reach even the heart of Earth. Jack's jaw clenched. We protect our home and our allies. We fight on all fronts. The Coalition's war against the extremists had become a test of endurance, faith, and humanity's will to survive. And Jack Riley was at its center, the commander who refused to let Earth be erased. The dust had barely settled on Dravos when word came that Earth itself had become a battlefield. A series of coordinated attacks by extremist sleeper cells rocked major cities. Strikes on communication hubs, sabotage of power grids, and acts of terror designed to shake the very foundations of human society. Commander Jack Riley stood on the bridge of the Vigilant, now docked in Earth's orbit, his face etched with exhaustion and fierce determination. The war had come home. We've fought across the stars, Jack said, voice low but resolute. But now we fight for our own streets, our own people. The Coalition rallied, not just to protect distant allies, but to defend Earth itself. Fleet patrols intensified, ground forces trained, and intelligence networks mobilized to root out every extremist cell hiding in the shadows. Jack knew this was the ultimate test, not just of weapons or tactics, but of humanity's spirit. In the weeks that followed, Earth's defenders struck back with unyielding force. Sleeper cells were uncovered and dismantled, cities rebuilt amid the scars of attack. But more than that, humanity stood united, defiant in the face of fear and hatred. At the same time, the coalition's efforts to purge extremists from the galaxy bore fruit. One by one, the conspirators fell, their networks broken and their ambitions crushed. Jack addressed the Galactic Council in a historic session, broadcast across worlds. "Earth did not come to the galaxy with open hands," he said, "because for too long we were ignored, dismissed, and threatened. We sent a warship, not to terrorize, but to declare our right to exist, to be heard, and to stand strong." His words resonated far beyond Earth. The galaxy had learned a harsh lesson. Strength demanded respect, but respect also required trust. Years later, peace, fragile but real, settled over the stars. Earth rose from the ashes of war not as a rogue warrior planet, but as a respected member of a united galactic community. Jack Riley, now a legend among many worlds, looked out over the rebuilt cities of Earth. The scars of battle remained, but so did the hope for a future forged by resilience and courage. "We fought with fire," he mused, "but in the end it was humanity's will to survive and to protect that won the day. The warship of terror had become a symbol not of destruction, but of humanity's unbreakable spirit, a warning to those who would threaten Earth, and a promise to those who dreamed of peace. The galaxy had changed forever, and Earth had claimed its place among the stars.